Good morning, wrestling fans, and welcome to episode 10 of Wrestle Talk Show on this fine January 15th, 2015. I'm your host, Joshua Zimmerman, bringing you the latest and greatest professional wrestling news, bits, rumors, anything and everything wrestling, independent, professional, or just stupid, we'll call it, as news stories we posted on Facebook featured backyard wrestling, which we do not condone at all. Just a disclaimer, we ask that if you're going to do it, become a professional wrestler. There is nothing professional about setting up some mattresses in your backyard and putting yourself through needless physical harm when there are people like our friends at the Monster Factory in New Jersey that will train you, and Ring of Honor in Philadelphia that recently has, or always has, I should say, both companies always have training seminars. Shout out to my vice president of production operations and company operations for both Wrestle Talk Show and CWE, Nathan Larner. And let's get into your show. First and foremost, we'd like to let you know that we contemplated yesterday. This show was supposed to come out yesterday, and we contemplated that with everything that's hit the news wire, this isn't even half the news. This is the culmination between yesterday. A majority of it is yesterday's news and a couple of articles before I went on the air this morning, 15 minutes ago. We pulled some articles to be relevant for today's cast, but this is likely to be a two-parter. So what'll happen is we'll air this show, which will be about 45 minutes to an hour, maybe over an hour, but we didn't want to cram everything into one episode because we don't want to lose your attention. You, the fans, are what make this possible, what make this fun for me and for my team, and we greatly appreciate it. You can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/CWE Company. Follow the show at facebook.com/WrestleTalkShow. On Twitter at CWE Company. Our business associates can reach us at linkedin.com using the keywords Joshua Zimmerman, WTS, and Continental Wrestling Entertainment. Also visit our YouTube channel, youtube.com/CWE Company. That culminates the first 3 years of this show as we enter into our 4th year of doing this. And again, without you, this would not be possible. But what I suggest, instead of repeating that, we're going to link everything up at one point. As soon as you enter Joshua Zimmerman, WTS, Wrestle Talk Show, any of those keywords, all of the videos should culminate to where there is no need for linking. We're in an era of YouTube where you type in duh, and any video that has the word duh in it shows up. So use your imagination. Just find us. We're not hard to find. Continental Wrestling Entertainment is also partnered with YP.com for our free business listing. You can email the show at josharzimmerman@gmail.com. That's JOSHARZIMMERMAN@gmail.com. Email the show, email the company, submit your resume, do anything and everything you want. Comment below on our YouTube channel. Send your feedback through our Facebook and Twitter accounts. Your interaction is what makes this show work and what makes it different, because your interaction is what builds the material for the show. So without further ado, shall we move into today's show? Getting to the top of the page here, my friends. Pardon me a moment. Alright. TNA World Champion out of action due to injury. MMAfighting.com reports that current TNA World Heavyweight Champion Bobby Lashley is injured. Lashley was forced to withdraw from his Bellator 134 fight against James Thompson. James Thompson, there's no word yet on what kind of injury Lashley is suffering from, probably lack of being able to fight. But he worked all 3 nights at the TNA tapings in New York City. So, now that I just read that sentence, yeah, draw your own conclusions. You can't fight, but you can deal with the physical endurance of 2 to 3 hour tapings of your contracted promoter's wrestling event. Okay. Made all 3 tapings in New York City last week. Lashley wrote the following on his Instagram this morning. This news again as of January 14th. I feel I need to stay in bed a bit this morning and recover. Gotta raise my feet and decompress while watching 300. Glad he has time while he makes next to nothing when he was, as we all remember, a former WWE champion and was too cool for that. He ended the Instagram post with hashtag Lashley's World, hashtag lazy morning, hashtag still going to lift though. So, is this a scripted thing, or are my assumptions correct when I say he just can't fight in the world of MMA, similar to CM Punk? I can't wait to purchase that fight just to watch CM Punk, Phil Brooks, get smacked around like the rag doll and have his teeth shoved down his throat for all the negativity he brought towards a company that did nothing but right by him. Yes, they could have gone the extra mile to keep him, but that's not where the rant is. Stephanie McMahon. The rant today, by the way, is brought to you by WWE executive Stephanie McMahon, and it's coming soon because I won't be able to get through the article without ranting. Why WWE is unable to air Main Event. WWE Network will not air a new episode of Main Event next Tuesday night, and Santino Marella's Royal Rumble Lottery special will air in its place. Main Event is not airing because of WWE's existing deal with the Sky Network, with the WWE Network launching in the UK and Ireland on Monday. They are unable to broadcast Main Event into those countries due to the Sky deal. WWE Network is unable to block certain content based on location. Daniel Bryan talks Vince McMahon's, quote, ambition comments, Triple H's leadership, and WWE's lack of competition. AlternateNation.net sports section recently conducted an interview with Daniel Bryan. In the interview, Bryan discusses how long he will continue to wrestle. CM Punk recently saying he'd make a good MMA fighter if he will after his wrestling stuff. Saying he'd make a good MMA fighter if he will after his wrestling style after his injury. A potential match with Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 31, Sting's WWE debut, and Randy Savage WWE Hall of Fame induction. And the original plans for him at WrestleMania 30. Below are the highlights. You can read the full story at our partner WrestlingInc.com. Vince McMahon encouraging talent to reach for the brass ring. Today just keeps getting better and better. Encouraging talent to reach for the brass ring on the WWE Network. Bryan laughs. You know, it's funny because one of the things that he had mentioned was he said something about the millennials not having any ambition. Right. It's funny because the WWE does this personality test with some of their more successful superstars where they rank you on all of these scores, like your desire for power and your personality and all that kind of stuff. One of the things ranked was ambition, and it's funny because in this personality assessment, I got the lowest score for ambition that the lady had ever seen. So they do it on a percentile basis. So from 0 to 100, I was in the bottom 1 percentile on ambition. God damn it. Laughs. It's funny because the lady was like, how on earth are you so successful given that you seem to have no ambition? I said, quote, well, that's where there's a flaw on the test. I have no ambition for what society says is important as far as things like money and all that kind of stuff. What I am ambitious about is I want to be the best wrestler that I can possibly be, and I think that there's some sort of mistake in generations as far as what he thinks is as far as generation lacking ambition. Our generation just wants different things than what his generation wants. And I think that's a societal thing as well. There's an older generation of people who say, quote, no, you guys should want this, you guys should want this, you guys should want this. Whereas our generation, a lot of us say, no, we don't want that, we want something different. And a lot of the things that you guys wanted are the reason that the world is messed up. We need to change our value system, so that's it. A very different take on what's going on. On WWE's lack of competition, but people need to stand up and say, no, this isn't what I want to do this. This is me, this is how I want to present myself on television, this is how I want to be within the WWE, this is how I view professional wrestling, this is what I want. Damn it. Pardon me, guys. Not good for live TV. Really? This is how I view professional wrestling. This is what I would like it to be. People have to have the courage to come up and say that. But the hard thing is, he was talking about the Attitude Era. Again, the Attitude Era will never return to WWE. The people aren't there. The players aren't there. The atmosphere isn't right. The timing isn't right. It was a once-in-a-lifetime thing. God damn it, wrestling fans, be smart enough to get over it. It was a great era. It was the best era in professional wrestling outside of What You Gonna Do when Hulkamania runs wild. Granted, Hulkamania still wants to run wild. This time he's going to do his title run with a walker and an oxygen mask. Is that wrestling? No, it's not. It's bringing back a legend to the point, as my partner Nathan Larner said, you almost bleed out the legend part of it when you keep regurgitating the legend. Ho, 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 Hogan Christmas on Monday Night Raw. We want wrestling entertainment. We don't want, if Hulk Hogan wants to do one more match like he did with The Rock, how he claimed that was going to be his last match and he passed the torch, that was fine. That was a history-making match. That meant something because it meant that Hogan was closing the door. You can't close the door, padlock it, bolt it shut, nail it shut, and then pry everything open 10 years later because Hulk Hogan finally had the realization that, hey, I'm a regular guy now. I'll always be a WWE legend, but it's over. Physically, his doctors have told him no, just like Stone Cold. Again, you don't think Stone Cold Steve Austin would want to come back to the ring and entertain us wrestling fans? He would. Give me a minute. He would. The fact is, he respects his medical condition, and what good is money if you're physically not able to spend it? That's why CM Punk got all the props in the world by a majority of his wrestling counterparts, because he left with his wealth, no rhyme intended, even though it is, he left with his wealth and his health. Ask Draws if money matters anymore. We posted a story on our Wrestle Talk Show Facebook page, I want to say 2 weeks ago, around the time the last show, about a couple days before the last show. Draws is doing great for being paralyzed, but one single match, a Sunday Night Heat match, and I watched it back in the day, a Sunday Night Heat match, a warm-up for the upcoming pay-per-view, ended his career. What do you think he would want more? His health or the millions of dollars? Because we've summed it up to you before. All WWE does when you're injured is pays out your contract, pays out your standing contract, pays off your medical bills, and it's grounds for voiding the contract. After that, you're not no one, but the wrestling giant, I won't say wrestling, the wrestling giant, World Wrestling Entertainment, wipes its hands of you. So what's more important, health or wealth? Say what you will, and yes, I'm an antagonist. I want to see Phil Brooks have his teeth physically knocked down his throat for a company that did nothing but right by him and his wife. Now his wife is contemplating leaving because, ooh, what a shock. AJ Lee's not happy because CM Punk's not happy. Get over yourself, people. The Attitude Era is done. Give these wrestlers a chance to enjoy their health. When they're crippled, it ends anyway, but it ends on a sour note. At least in recent years, with Stone Cold and CM Punk being the example, they left because they valued their health. They have the money, they have their health. Same as football players. You'll see they don't want to retire. Anybody who has a passion for any kind of business, physical business, doesn't want to leave. But you weigh the risk. You weigh the pro and the con. And the money is not going to help you walk if you're injured. And WWE is not going to help you or resurrect you or care about you if you're injured. I've outlined what they do to wrestlers. They pay off the contract, they pay the medical bill, and then good luck in your future endeavors. Moving on. Sorry, I have a rib injury too. I'm also nursing. Moving on. He was talking about the Attitude Era and how things were different. Well, things wouldn't have been that much different if there wasn't a WCW. Exactly. Vince bought the competition. Now you're stuck with WWE. Are we happy now? Let me outline this one more time. Vince McMahon could still have owned WCW. He just didn't have to make it public and fire hundreds of talented wrestlers. and then they have to resort to going to the low-scale TNA. He could have kept all the talent. No, not all of them would have been superstars, main eventers, but they would have had jobs, and McMahon has the money. Makes me sick. Buy out a company and just to make an example, you gut half the roster within the first year of owning the company. It's very simple. McMahon buys WCW, wins over Ted Turner, because as I'm sure many hardcore wrestling fans know, and I don't mean hardcore as in the style, as many avid wrestling fans know, it was a battle between McMahon and Ted Turner, not WWE and WCW. It was McMahon trying to beat Ted Turner, millionaire versus millionaire. And God, do not say McMahon versus Donald Trump, because that was just a joke. Anyway, it was different because WCW, it would be different. Well, things wouldn't have been that much different if there wasn't a WCW. Like, guys could say, quote, hey, I want to do this. If you want to fire me, fine, because I'm going to WCW to make just as much money. Now they can't. Making my point come full circle. This rant brought to you by my frustration. Without WCW, there is no competition. So, WWE superstars and wrestlers, divas, talent, employees are walking on eggshells because there is no competition. McMahon made sure of that. And while he may have won, he screwed in the long term the aspiring dreams of up-and-coming wrestlers, because there's nowhere to go. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's wrestlers that are content in the ROH, there's wrestlers that just want to wrestle and are loyal to TNA. As much as I bag on Dixie, I get it. But he destroyed the competition. So what else are they going to do? There's nowhere else to go. All right, let me breathe here. I'll go to WCW and make just as much money. That doesn't exist right now. It's people who are okay with, like, hey, my life without WWE is as good as my life with the WWE. They have been able to say, okay, if I'm going to say this is what I want to do, or else I'm taking my ball and going home, they have some sort of plan for when they take their ball and go home. They have something else to do, which is hard, especially when you have a family and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I have very interesting thoughts on that whole podcast. It's a very interesting look into the mind of Vince McMahon, so it was fascinating. On Triple H's leadership in the WWE and NXT, please, the gods must be punishing me, because Triple H is not a leader. Triple H is a barrier. Triple H wants to run a company and wrestle at the same time. But the only problem with that is no one wants to see him wrestle. We've seen it. Get over it. On that, Bryan responds, quote, I have never actually talked to him about his vision for the future of wrestling, and that is actually something I should talk to him about, because we think a lot alike in a lot of ways. That's scary. I like what he's done with NXT, and I think NXT is an awesome show. That last special that they did was an awesome product. I think Hunter is very intelligent wrestling-wise. Then he should have stayed a wrestler. Like, he knows wrestling. He knows what works wrestling-wise. I'm not exactly sure what are his ideas and what aren't his ideas within the WWE, but I want to say two of the most successful current acts that happened in the last year, like the Shield and the Wyatts. I think those are Triple H ideas, but I'm not exactly sure as far as their execution and that sort of thing. Oh, my next rant's coming up, folks. Stephanie McMahon, next on your plate after Ryback. Ryback teases wrestling on another channel as top WWE superstars are finding successes in limited travel working for TNA, preserving their talent and health, which promoters like Vince McMahon aren't liking. Michael Cole did not work commentary on tonight's WWE main event. JBL and Tom Phillips did the honors. Goldust and Stardust announced on main event tonight that they will be in the 30-man Royal Rumble main event this month. They joined Bray Wyatt, Bad News Barrett, Dean Ambrose, Rusev, Roman Reigns, and Daniel Bryan. Ryback tweeted a photo available at WrestlingInc.com, or if you follow him on Twitter. Tweeted a photo of his new wrestling boots and kept up the "you're fired" storyline by teasing that maybe wrestling on another channel. Ryback wrote, new big guy Terminator lightning boots all done. I wonder what channel these are going to show up on. Hashtag the big guy. Hashtag feed me. And now, Wrestle Talk Show is proud to present why I hate, and I'm calling you out once again, Stephanie McMahon of World Wrestling Entertainment. Wrestle Talk Show would like to sit down for an unbiased interview so you can counter all the claims I've made over the last 4 years and shed some light on some things that the fans deserve, and your rebuttal on everything is more than welcome. It would provide a nice back and forth and provide us both with audiences that you need, considering this joke of subscriber rate that you're feeding people. I'm almost ashamed to report it to you guys because it's nothing but a joke. Executive Stephanie McMahon during a conference announced that the company hopes that its WWE network will reach 3 to 4 million subscribers. Television rights fees have grown from $78 million in 2004 to $171 million in 2014. Live event revenue has risen from $62 million in 2004 to $114 million as of September 2014. Television agreements were renegotiated in the U.S., UK, India, Canada, Mexico, Thailand, and UAE. All agreements stand as they are now until at least 2018, where it can be assumed these agreements will be renegotiated. Annual revenue from WWE's 7 key deals is estimated to increase by $100 million between 2014 and 2018. So $100 million for 4 years worth of nothing, just to be able to air your product. The right to air your product, you're going to make, you can break it down over 4 years. They're going to make $25 million a year just for other networks to carry it. They're going to make it. Not we pay you. These networks are paying WWE, and the product isn't even that good. Right now, I'd rather watch TNA, and Lucha Libre Underground right now is doing better than WWE. And I think the live events revenue is a lie because attendance has been falling for the last 2 quarters. Say 4 quarters, because we've been reporting on the steady decline for the last 4 years. So, what's that? 18 quarters. It doesn't make sense. Their numbers seem inflated. Their numbers seem hopeful. The company's social media presence was pushed as a huge success that will continue to grow as our markets and deals expand, which in turn will attract new fans to the overall product. It may interest fans to know Monday Night Raw averages 4.6 million viewers a week, while SmackDown, otherwise known as the B Show, averages 3 million viewers a week. USA Network averages itself 2.4 million. No matter what USA airs, 2.4 million people a week watch it. Doesn't have to be wrestling related. In addition to launching the network in the UK and Ireland, the company plans to launch the network in places like Italy, Japan, Germany, and China over the next few years. The company noted that their top 16 global markets, that of their top 16 global markets, 51% of homes have love for the WWE. Only because you're the only thing on TV. Stop. 51% of households don't like WWE. 51% of households love wrestling entertainment, which if you watch the first half hour of Monday Night Raw every week, you don't get wrestling entertainment. You get goofy stuff. You get Adam Rose and his dancing and non-wrestling entertainment. Stop trying to bleed into other venues and go back to what made this business great. Wrestling entertainment. Wrestling sells itself. WWE is by far the only company that makes this, like when, we'll go back to when Daniel Bryan and Cena were hurt consecutive at the same time. The superstars next in line should have been right there, because WWE has had more than enough time to mold. And it makes a mockery of NXT, Toughen Up, and all the other developmental shows because they were not ready or refused to be ready. And I think it's more they refused to be ready because John Cena and Daniel Bryan are their cash cows. Why bother giving anybody else a chance? So if you're an aspiring wrestler, I say right now, until they let the wind out of their bloated sails, don't aspire to go to WWE. Go to ROH. Go to New Japan Pro Wrestling. They might be independent companies, but they put on a better product, a more fan-friendly, wrestling-friendly product, and ticket prices are cheaper and you get more for your money. For a $20 ticket, you'll get a 3-hour wrestling event, not a 3-hour wrestling Hallapalooza where during commercial breaks we shoot t-shirts out of a potato gun. What a joke. You get a 3-hour program, 45 minutes up, you turn Raw into a 3-hour program, 45 minutes of it are to cover your advertising, because God forbid Raw doesn't get its solid 2 hours, but it doesn't really matter because they don't provide wrestling entertainment for a solid 2 hours. They're always pumping something else. And somebody please fire JBL. What he has to do with wrestling anymore is irrelevant. God. And for Stephanie McMahon to say 3 to 4 million subscribers, get real. Yeah, it's only $9.99. That's why in the month of November you had to practically give the whole month away just so you could boast numbers by the end of the fiscal year that your network was doing good because you're still backpedaling with your shareholders that your father lied to for 4 years, took money, took company funds, offset the balance sheets, and then you want to make the lie disappear. Well, guess what? This is what shows like this are all about. The lie's out there. Vince McMahon conned his own shareholders, his own board of directors, one of his own shareholders wants him gone at the most recent conference call. He lied. Like I say about Dixie Carter, so I'm not biased. Anybody else did this would be fired. They are not the most powerful family in wrestling. Wrestling is wrestling. The fans give you your power. And guess what, Stephanie? The fans can quickly take it away if you keep treating us like idiots. I am so tired of the McMahons thinking they revolutionized wrestling. Wrestling's been around since black and white. Wrestling sells itself. They make it harder than it has to be. Why are live events down, but you want to say they're up? Because God forbid our shareholders hear that not only did the network just start producing a profit, but we're still losing money. They're not going to tell you that at live events, 2 to 4 sections of an arena are covered in a black cloth and out of camera view because no seats were sold. They're not going to tell you that at the end of a show, there are certain people allowed, permitted by WWE, even though Earl Hebner was fired for it, permitted to sell knockoffs because their shirts are $25 to $40 a piece, just because it has almost like they want to treat themselves almost like the NFL. By the way, Vince, what happened to all the money the company lost in XFL? What happened to all the $10 million and more Linda lost of company money running for a Senate seat, but didn't want to step down as CEO and didn't want to answer for her time at the wrestling company? Like it was something she was ashamed of. That should tell you something. And for the record, this is why I smoke. Stephanie McMahon is the reason why I need Xanax. I'm kidding. But definitely why I need a cigarette, because the woman and her husband and McMahon, Vince McMahon Sr., Vince McMahon, frustrate me. Because they make wrestling seem like an over science that the wrestling fans will not understand, even though wrestling sells itself, and the fans wouldn't be into it if we didn't understand it. Good guy, bad guy, feud, storyline, feud conclusion at a pay-per-view. It used to be simple, and it still is. Stop overcomplicating wrestling and bring back the wrestling. Stop trying to bleed your product into other things by going from WWE, the wrestling company, to the leader in sports entertainment. You're a wrestling company. If you bleed into something else by default, kudos to you. But don't stay loyal to the people that have stayed loyal to you because you take us for granted every year. What? Oh, it's nothing. It's nothing. We'll lose money. The fans will give it back to us. I'm on air. It's nothing. We'll take their money. They'll come back next year and spend the same amount of money on pay-per-views. Well, guess what? When your product sucks, we'll start watching the other programs. That's why Stephanie is a whore. Stephanie will always be a whore. She's a coward for not responding to any of the interviews that have been requested for her. And they overcomplicate wrestling. It sells itself. The fans bring in their money and they treat us all like retards. Oh, we can let this go. They won't know the difference. They'll still pay for it. And guess what? The sad thing is they're right. We line up every year, every month, spend $60, $80 on a pay-per-view. Oh, we can assume that money on our balance sheet. They'll be back. And we all come back. She pisses me off to no end, guys. So bear with me. Moving on. Just because this interview is a little too long, on WrestlingInc.com, it was announced that Josh Barnett is getting into wrestling. You can read the full interview. It's a 6-page interview that like we said in the beginning, we didn't want to do a 4-hour show and lose the interest of the fan base. But we'll do a 2-parter. I'll save that for next show and skip right past that because this guy apparently likes to hear himself talk, but so do I. UFC, oh, get that. This is great, guys. UFC champion Jon Jones, one day after winning his championship last Saturday, checked himself into rehab. Want to guess how many days he spent in rehab? 1. Yep, 1 day. UFC champion Jon Jones spends 1 day in rehab after testing positive for cocaine and being high during last Saturday's title match that his opponent claims is the reason he won, while opponent had to, quote, actually train for the bout. Jon Jones's mother spoke out recently, breaking news that her son spent only 1 night in rehab before exiting. She also shared her feelings on the situation. Quote, when he tested positive, my first question was, do you have a problem? A serious problem? Jones' mother, Camille, told WBNG News, and then he told me what happened. Jon is usually very honest with me, so he told me what happened. I was like, good for you. Good. You needed to be caught. It was just timing. A 1-day stay in rehab isn't what many expected and isn't likely to do the polarizing Jones any favors in the public. Bleacher Report's Dwayne Finley elaborated on the rehab process on Twitter, saying, quote, no rehab facility in the world would let you clear on 24 hours, and if you were released early, there is a serious outpatient program attached. Most standard recovery plans are 5 to 7 days inpatient, 2 weeks outpatient, 90 days of meetings, and sponsor accountability. When you check into those places, you are suddenly accountable for everything you do. You are monitored and have to check in with a doctor and a sponsor. Jones will be in attendance at the AFC Championship game this weekend to see his brothers who play for the New England Patriots and Indianapolis Colts, respectively. UFC has an event in Boston on Sunday. Speaking of UFC's show, in Boston, former Ultimate Fighter standout Uriah Hall has yet another new opponent for UFC Night 59. Ron Stallings has stepped in as a last-minute replacement for Lewis Taylor, who had stopped in for Costa, bear with me with names here, Costa Filippo, to face off with Hall. Stallings is 12-6, including a victory over UFC veteran Mike Mazzino. Former Strikeforce middleweight champion Jake Shields revealed during an athletic commission meeting on Monday that he has failed that his failed 2012 drug test was for a diuretic he took unknowingly. Shields blamed the use on a friend who told him the product would help him cut weight more easily than usual. The fight result was overturned after Shields tested positive, but the substance in question was never revealed before this week. It's worth noting that 8 of Shields' last 9 fights have been at 170 pounds, with the fight in question being at 185 pounds. Shields has never missed weight, despite being grilled by the Nevada Athletic Commission. Shields was granted a conditional license in order to face Bryan this weekend at World Series of Fighting 17. Quote, "I've learned from my mistakes," Shields said to the commission. Quote, "I definitely don't want to go through what I went through before." Update on status of WWE superstars. WWE superstars. Steve Austin talks Paul Heyman, Raw Twitter ratings, and more. Monday night's WWE Raw ranked number 2 around non-sporting events. This is another thing. It is a sporting event for the night in Nielsen's new Twitter TV ratings. Behind the Bachelor, Raw had a unique audience of 2.169 million, which represents the number of Twitter accounts that commented on the show. This was up from last week's 1.234 million. Raw 1.234 million. Raw had a total impressions of 20.736 million, which represents the number of times the show was tweeted about. This is way up from last week's 7.582 million. Steve Austin's latest podcast features Paul Heyman. The description reads like this: "The long-lost Paul Heyman episode surfaces, and you're going to be glad Steve finally decided to release one from the vault. It's got great analysis on Brock Lesnar's Cena beatdown. Paul E. shares his philosophy on what makes a great advocate, where his personal in-ring style comes from, and how he always nails his promo, and it's not memorization. He remembers his early color commentary days with JR at WCW, what he learned from Captain Lou and the Grand Wizard, the best advice he ever got from Dusty Rhodes, and how Paul E views his role in one of the greatest matches of all time, WrestleMania 17. Did I mention the 16 suplexes? Oh, hell yeah. With WWE NXT moving to Wednesday and SmackDown moving to Thursday this week, it was believed that WWE superstars may also move to Wednesday, but that may not be the case. As of this writing, the WWE Network does not plan to have superstars listed for Wednesday or Thursday. Their Friday schedule is still incomplete. WWE did tape matches for superstars on Monday night in New Orleans, and the show still airs internationally. No word yet on what day WWE Network will air the show. Former TNA Knockout drops 100 pounds for wrestling comeback. Former TNA Knockout Rosie Love, who retired 2 years ago due to an injury, is making a comeback to pro wrestling after dropping over 100 pounds. She will now be using the name Andrea. This was the name given to her in Japan due to her height of 6'1" after Andre the Giant. You can read more on that at WrestlingInc.com. You can view the pictures, rather. This just in, as of the 15th, at about an hour ago, the news was last night the news was posted. Kevin Nash's assault charges dropped, so as earlier mentioned, it might take a couple of days, or it already happened. WWE had suspended the Legendary contract until it was resolved. Now that the charges are dropped, it's safe to say it's resolved. Kevin Nash noted on his Twitter today that all charges against him have been dropped. Nash was arrested in December after a confrontation with his son, 18-year-old Tristan. Nash wrote, "To all those who sent your love and support, words cannot express what you mean to me. As of 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, all charges have been dropped." Nash was originally scheduled for this Monday's Raw, but was pulled after WWE suspended his Legends contract until the, quote, domestic dispute is resolved. With the charges being dropped, WWE could technically have Nash appear on Monday's show, although Nash did write in the morning that he doesn't see himself returning to WWE programming following his suspension. So they lied to him. Or he just doesn't want to do it, but we'll keep you posted on that. Again, keep up. When we don't do a show, we post news every single day at facebook.com/WrestleTalkShow and on our Twitter page at CWE Company. Stephanie McMahon reveals why the Elimination Chamber was dropped, and it's ironically has nothing to do with the WWE. Stephanie McMahon and Booker T recently appeared on the Wrestling Compadres Slamcast, and Stephanie talked about why WWE decided to do away with the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view and replace it with Fastlane. Stephanie said Elimination Chamber was dropped due to the logistics of hanging the chamber, which weighs more than 10 tons. Many arenas now feature large scoreboards above where the ring would be, and they were facing issues with being able to hang the chamber in some buildings. Stephanie said the company will still deliver with Fastlane. WWE SummerSlam will likely have to be moved. NorthJersey.com reported today that the Izod Center in East Rutherford, New Jersey, which is the site for the 2015 edition of SummerSlam, may close as early as this month. The New Jersey Sports and Exposition Authority Board is expected to approve a plan on Thursday that would demolish the facility by the end of March. Events already scheduled through March could be moved to Newark's Prudential Center, but it's unknown what will happen to events scheduled after the WWE has a live event scheduled at the Izod Center on Saturday, January 24th. And that concludes this show. Please remember to send your direct emails to the show, comments, concerns, things you want us to discuss on the next show to Joshua R. Zimmerman at gmail.com. That's JOSHARZIMMERMAN at gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter at CWE Company. Our Facebook pages, both at facebook.com/CWE Company and facebook.com/WrestleTalkShow. When emailing, please be advised to note in the subject line what you're submitting about, whether it's a resume, show comment, concerns. For Wrestle Talk Show, Nathan Larner, and all of us at Wrestle Talk Show, have a great morning.
You done?